Good morning, Grinders. Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderEd, Blender HD, if you want to follow me on Twitter. And it's Thursday, September 22nd. And it's a toss-up today. Talk maybe a little bit about the showdown slate tonight. The Browns and the Steelers. Doesn't seem to be a very good game, but we got a large field GPP, right? Can you win $1 million or something, maybe, or split it or something like that on DraftKings. We got NFL coming up on Sunday. There's no MMA tomorrow, by the way. Okay, so I'll be here tomorrow. I will be here tomorrow, but we won't be talking MMA because there's no UFC slate this weekend. So probably talk about the NFL Sunday slate, right? It's NFL all the time. NFL football. What do you get ready for some football? It's like that all the time. So I don't mind. And as always, I'm answering your questions, as I always do, like in the chat. Wataz, Suki Singh, the early birds here, as usual. Matt Neers, Jay Brown, 764. Give me those thumbs. Hit the thumbs up button. You know how much I love those. Helps us out on the channel. I'll also be on Grinders Live later today for MLB. So there's an MLB slate today. I was up late last night getting my prize picks in, so that worked out well. I think almost everything I took moved, so that's good. So I locked it in, right? They posted bad numbers as normal early. You can't get them now, right? You got Keller over 4.5 strikeouts. It's now up to 5.5, so you screwed, right? Same for Wisniewski. They posted Wisniewski as 5, and now he's down to 4, right? So those are the two big ones that I got last night. You got to be up at like 1 a.m. when the board goes up to get the best numbers. By the time you wake up in the morning, they're gone. They're gone. Well, lock those in. Maybe show off some tools, the theory of DFS tools. We got an update coming. We had some updates the past week or two that James has made to some of the tools, and they've been focused on making your life easier, right? It's not like amazing updates where it's like, oh, it does something completely different. No, it just the 3 tools that you're probably using the most in this course. I'm talking about the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports for advanced players. It's a 10-chapter audio course, right? It's the advanced version of the Theory of DFS, and it also comes with these Excel tools that James has made to make your process much more efficient and much more accurate. And you use them in tandem with a lineup builder with projections and ownership, right? So that doesn't give you that, right? So you still need a way to build lineups. You still need projections. You can make your own, right? You can make your own projections, your own ownership projections and everything, but it uses, you could get the exports from any. It doesn't have to be lineup HQ, but I would suggest that I used lineup HQ, but it could be literally any lineup builder. And how to weed out the lineups that aren't as good and stick to the ones that are maybe better, maybe higher expected value or plus expected value. Mike B in the chat obviously has the tools. You ever use the portfolio trimmer, have 5,000 lineups with different captains, then only get 30 lineups, but they're all the same captain? Oh, you're going to love this, Mike. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. You're going to love it, Mike. I said I'm going to make your life easier. Mike, beautiful. It's almost like I set him up. I didn't, but that's like kind of weird. But I set him up for this. Okay. So to show let's bring this up. Well, I mean, this is from like the previous slate, but I mean, whatever. But I could still bring it up. Let's first. There's no ownership. We don't have ownership this early in the morning for the showdown slate. Well, well, we're not gonna be able to do any like type of smart trimming or anything like that. And the blitz doesn't. Okay, so let's export the projections out of here, right? Which you can. I mean, whatever the projections are, you just whatever. You click the little download button over here, right? I get that. Put in the right folder, right? Then I can bring that up, right? So I can bring up the projections. You won't see it on the screen. I'm going to switch my screen over to my second screen that has my Excel stuff on it. Okay, so let me stop this. Share my entire screen. Right. So maybe a little bit small. Right. So you can see here, I took out the projections. Right. So I downloaded these directly from Lineup HQ. Okay, so you see all the columns here? In these tools, right, like the duplication predictor, right, because we're using Showdown, so duplication matters a lot, right? We also have the portfolio trimmer. This is the new version. I have not tested it. I'm literally going to test it live on the air. The new version. So this duplication predictor, right? You insert the projections right here, right? So there'll always be on every tool, right? You can see here, I'm moving it aside. There's a place to just clear the projections, right? Of anything. It doesn't matter the sport or anything like that. And I could just cut and paste. You can see here, look at all the named to fantasy points, projected ownership, even though we don't have any, right? There's the ceiling, the floor, right? So I just want to cut, copy, and I could just paste that in right here, right? Then I also have the ceiling, the floor, and the salary, right? So just copy the columns. It's not complicated. Paste. There you go. And then you also have the salary there, right? Cut and paste that column, paste that in. Okay? So you get all of that. Then I could also take this, right? Because I'm also going to be using the portfolio trimmer. So I could take all of this information right there and put it into the, let me first clear out the other ones on the portfolio trimmer has projections also there, clear those out and cut and paste the same ones over there because we're going to be using the same ones in the portfolio trimmer, right? So that all, and that just as long as the columns line up, you're fine. So there. So we got that in. Okay. And then there's a place to enter lineups. Format DK Showdown, right? So clear lineups. So now I'm going to go back into lineup HQ. I'll show everything. Share screen. So I'm going to go back. We don't have ownership yet, so we're not going to be able to like trim on ownership basis this morning at least. But if I wanted to go in and I wanted to build 300 lineups, let's build three. Like I said, we're just building just dummy lineups, right? I don't know what they'll be, right? So like they don't even have to be that unique, whatever. 2 doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. I'm just building the build, right? But I'm going to have different captains in here, right? Where is it? Is that the reason why this is not coming up correct? Where's the captain? Pittsburgh versus Cleveland. Oh, I'm on the classic. Why is there a classic slate like that? Okay, let me go to the showdown version. That's gonna maybe that was a weird bug in lineup HQ. Okay, here we go. Oh, now we have ownership. Oh, okay. Okay, we're good now. Oh, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna grab the ownership now. So I'm gonna download and move the. Now that we actually do have ownership. I was wondering why it was coming up that way because typically you don't get the RGVs in that in the showdown slate. Okay, so let's go back. I can insert these projections in over here. Once I could get over it, okay. I just want to make sure everything. McFarland, Harris, Pickett, James, Rogers. Yeah, this should all line up, right? Boykin, Rodney Williams. Okay, so I could just copy and paste. Where's the ownership? Right there. Column G. Right into the projected ownership. Do that on the other one also. Beautiful. Okay, we got that. We got that over. We got the projected ownership over. Okay, so we can smart trim. That's good. Okay, so I'm just looking to build. I just want to build. Give me 300 lineups. It doesn't matter. Just doing this. There's some two uniques, just so we have a different. So we don't have the same lineup a million times. And then I'm just gonna go and like cap the captains. Like, do we have a captain max exposure? Yeah. No more than 10% of any captain, just so we have different captains. I'm going to build 300 lineups. I got to put in 2 zeros just to, so it bypasses that. So there we go. Just the build. We're just building a build. I don't know. Just whatever comes out. Right. Everyone in chat. It's like the ownership projections are there. Yeah. You saw. Why is there an 8-15 classic slate in lineup HQ that says Pittsburgh versus Cleveland? It can't be a one-game classic slate. So this must be they must have imported something last night, and that's kind of a bug there. That's why you go to the showdown list. And I didn't. I just thought, oh, Pittsburgh, there it is. There it is. Why is it coming up weird? And there you go. So I'm just going to build lineups in here. I'm just whatever. I'm not even going to look at optimal rates or anything. Just give me 10% of every captain and just whatever comes up. 2 unique players, just so there's some diversity. I could put up random. I could do whatever. I mean, we're just looking at lineups. And then we're going to bring them into the tools. Right? The tools that you could get at thetheoryofdfs.com. Download for Excel, and as long as you have Excel 2021 or above, or you should be able to use it. And we get 300 here, and there's going to be an export file. So I'm gonna switch over to my Excel screen. Right? You can see I got the 2 tools. Let's maybe even split the screen, something like that, so I could put both of them on at the same time, something like that. You can see both. The first one's the duplication predictor. The second one is the portfolio trimmer. DFIC. Will it work on my Commodore 64? Probably not. I used to have a Commodore 64. Wait, that was my first computer when it was I don't know, 6 years old or something. Okay. So the projections are already in here, right? Are in both tools. I'm going to, so you can see old lineups in here. I'm going to clear the lineups here. DK Showdown. We got them both in here. Okay. And then I'm just going to export. Make sure we get, okay. I just want to make sure I have a whole bunch of different captains. Okay. So you get a lot of Chubb, Hunt, Deontay Johnson, Brissett, Harris, Trubisky, and then we start getting other stuff. Cade York captains. I'm not saying they necessarily on this slate. Maybe you do play a kicker captain. Who the hell knows? Okay, so I'm going to export this right from lineup HQ. Right, so you can see here. Here are the lineups that come out. So you can just copy and paste, just whatever. Cut them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. Right click. You can have 301 columns, right, with the header. Copy. Right, and then I can copy these right into this part that says insert lineups. Pretty easy, right? Paste that in, right? And I'm also going to paste them in to the portfolio trimmer. These are the same lineups. Paste them right in. Okay. Now in the duplication predictor, what it's going to do, if I go over to portfolio check, you can see the old one, you can put in any contest size. So if you're playing smaller than whatever, the contest for tonight on Showdown is 196,000 entries. Right? So I could just load all the lineups, and based on the ownership product and based on the salary, it gives you some directionally correct way of weighing how many dupes should you expect. Is it going to be perfect? No. But most likely, if it says dupes 51, it ain't going to be a unique lineup, right? Maybe it's not duped 51 times. Maybe it's duped 32 times. Maybe it's duped 72 times. It doesn't take into account correlation at all. But it'll give you here, based on all the lineups that you put in, here's the projection, here's the salary, here's the total ownership, the ownership sum, and the dupes. This is back. And even out of the 300 lineups, it'll even say, right even here, unique 7, under 5, 15, under 10, 35, under 20, 120. So it'll give you a sense of what all your lineups in your portfolio, and you could sort by anything you want. I mean, I could sort by number 2 and go, oh, okay, maybe I only want lineups that are under 10. Right? I don't want these heavy dupe lineups. Well, it used to be in this tool that you'd have to go into the portfolio trimmer and do it. But now you can trim directly in the duplication predictor by having a dupe threshold. Now, a lot of times you could just cut and paste. Like what I used to do is like, okay, where's the 9? Right? You do this and you cut and you take all these and you move them over to the portfolio trimmer. But if this is the last part of your process, like maybe you just want to get rid of, dupe threshold. You put dupe threshold as 10, trim the threshold. You click that, and remember, it's Excel. It's not going to happen like immediate, depending on how many lineups you have. Because it's going to have to check all of them. Here you go. So here's the 10s. Okay, I don't even want the 10s. I want the 9s. Give me the 9s. Trim. There you go. Done. So it gets rid of all those lineups. They still exist. They're on your lineup screen. If you screwed up, you could always hit the reload lineups. It's like, I didn't want to get rid of them. I could just reload them and get everything back because everything is still on your insert lineup screen. So if I want to dupe threshold down to 9, like I didn't even have to sort it out. Like if I just got this and I'm like, I don't know how many, I don't know. But it says here I have 35 lineups under 10. It's like, okay, give me those. That is a new feature. So if you downloaded this 3 weeks ago, always re-download. You could re-download these at any time, whenever they get updated. Right, so here you go. And they'll sort by projection. There you go. And you can see Johnson. You can see all the lineups here. If these are the lineups you want to play, maybe you only want to play out of these. You only want to play some of them, right? Maybe we go into the portfolio trimmer. I'm going to clear these lineups, and you're going to take just the ones that are duplicated less than 10 times, and you're going to just cut and paste these, right? You're going to, okay, I'm going to take these because maybe I'm only playing 10 lineups. And I got 35 candidate lineups. So I'm going to copy these over. I'm going to paste them into insert lineups here. We already have the projections in there. And now I'm going to go over to the portfolio trimmer. This is the new version that has not been tested. So I'm testing it right here. Okay. I'm going to load the portfolio. Okay. And then it doesn't work. Maybe I shouldn't have tested it here. DK Showdown, load into Portfolio Manager. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Insert lineups. Maybe I shouldn't have. I should. That's what I get for trying to test something live before ever opening it. Right? We could open up the regular portfolio. Let's do the normal portfolio trimmer. I'm going to open up the normal, not the new version of it, but the normal version, the version that did exist. Right, I got the projections in here. I got the lineup, so it has to load the other document. But I'll show you the difference between the two, even though the new one obviously needs to be tested more, needs to be fixed. But we want to trim down those lineups based on whatever variables that you want. And once this loads, I will show you. So we have one tool that, based on ownership, product, and salary, could get your duplicate, the duplication down. Okay. So this is the old one. Oh, I think I know what's wrong. Did I not? Okay, let's do this. Let's move that aside. This is the new one because I missed the first column. So let's clear lineups. Let's cut and paste all of these. Let's see if this works. Okay, I don't know if I should have brought all of that over. Let's see. Okay, now we got it. Okay, so I just put it in the wrong spot. Okay, typically it's user error. Okay, so we get rid of this. Okay, so you got all your lineups in here. So we got the lineups from the dude. We made 300 in whatever way you wanted to make them. I just purposely made 10% of each captain just so we have different captains, especially for Mike B. who has that question about, well, I'm trimming thousands of lineups. Then you're only getting 30 lineups and they're the same captain, right? Because if you're smart trimming based on ownership, those are the ones that are the least owned for the most projected. That's what smart trim does. Does that mean those are the play? You can't play any other lineups than those. Of course not. But if you're judging by a fraction of a point here and there, those captains may be under-owned. Doesn't mean no other lineups are those are the only plus EV lineups. No, there's thousands of them. Those may be the highest. And it also depends on the ownership. If you're off on the ownership, let's say that captain is now twice his own. Now you're not going to get much of them at all. So I took all these lineups that are predicted to be duped under 10, and I put them in the portfolio trimmer. Now, in the new version of the portfolio trimmer, the old version, you could trim, but here's the price, here's the floor, projection, the median sum, ceiling sum, ownership sum. And then you could set a threshold for salary, right? You want 50,000 salary? Do you want to get rid of those lineups? What's your projection threshold? What's your ownership threshold? So if you just wanted to get rid of, it's like, oh, I want to get rid of anything under a 72 projection. Right, I could just do that. Click trim thresholds, and it'll get rid of anything with a 72, which shouldn't have been all of them. Like I said, testing it out. Right, let's bring that all back. Okay. So that's the normal version. Like smart trim would be like based on projection and ownership. If I smart trim all of these down, I'm left with 11 lineups. Right? As the projection goes down, the ownership goes down also, which still isn't the case. Okay, so this does have to be tested more, because obviously this is off. Right, because as the projection goes down, we still have a 168 lineup here at 73.33. So yes. So this is not included yet, because this has to be tested. The original version would work. But I wanted to show what else is in here now. What's soon to be in here. Soon. I'm going to bring back all those lineups. Reload portfolio. The problem, I don't want to call it a problem. The two things in the portfolio trimmer that would help your life out a lot, as Mike B would point out, is like, let's say you trim, like, let's say, especially in Showdown, but you could even in Classic. It's like, let's say you trim and you want a different captains. You don't care that Deontay Johnson is over-owned a captain. You still want some of him. But you want the most trim lineups from him. Well, we've included, which probably doesn't work, but it will work at some point. Like I said, this is not this new version is not there yet. This is the beta that I literally got sent this morning. You'll be able to select a player. So select Deontay Johnson. So key player for smart trim, meaning that it'll only deal with lineups that have Deontay Johnson in them. It'll only deal with lineups that have Jacoby Brissett in them. Only lineups that have Mitch Trubisky in them. Only something. Right? None would be all of them. And then also, another thing is that let's say you're trimming a lot of lineups. Right? You're trimming 5,000 lineups, like Mike B. And you're trimming, and there's no way of taking these lineups back into lineup HQ. Like to see like how much of someone do you have? I don't know. Right? Or you could use the portfolio correlation matrix, and you could do that also. You could, let me trim a 5,000 lineups down to 1,000 and then put the 1,000 into the correlation matrix just to see how much of anyone that I have. Right? I don't know. From a diversification risk tolerance standpoint, I don't know. Do I have 80% of someone? Well, in the new version, that still needs to be tested. We have this exposure list right over here. So as you trim, it'll show, based on your lineups, how much of someone or something you have. Right? So out of the ones that you got from the duplication predictor, you put it in here. You have 77% Najee Harris, 54% Deontay Johnson, 48% Browns defense. It shows all the captains, right? So obviously, if I smart trim, even though it doesn't work correctly, now it'll show this. Right, so now you have Deontay Johnson in 27%, Chubb in 20%, like this type of stuff. Miller Forrestal in 9% of your lineups. Well, I mean, you only have like 11 lineups here. So let's say, like Mike B, it's like I'm trimming and I'm getting a lot of someone. Well, that's probably because they're underowned. If you're using smart trim, it's because they're the most underowned. So they provide the most amount of relative value to your lineups compared to the ownership sum. But maybe you're not all that enthralled about having 22% David Bell, right? Or Demetric Felton or something like that. Well, then we've also included, when this comes out in the new version, you could just trim by those lineups. So let's say the David Bell line. He's like, I have too much David Bell. Right? So I'm going to go down. I'm going to go to David Bell. And this is supposed to, keyword supposed to. Like I said, I'm testing it live. I got sent this morning. That'll adjust whatever thresholds that you set here, or for smart trim, it'll just do it for the David Bell lineups. So it'll treat it as if none of the lineups exist other than David Bell lineups. So it'll compare projection to ownership, and just for those David Bell lineups, it will do it for. So if I click this, it should now drop my David Bell exposure to 12.9. Okay? Then you look and you go, okay, do I want to have how about the Browns defense? Do I want to have a lot of the Browns defense? Do I want to have a lot of Nick Chubb in the captain? Because I'm trying to get down to maybe I'm only playing 20 lineups. Right? So I got what? I got 31 here. I'm like, I need to get down to I could pick and choose if I wanted to. But like maybe I want to get okay, I don't want to have half my lineups having the Browns defense. So maybe I get rid of some of those. So I'm going to smart trim just the Browns defense. It looks like this works properly. Right? So I got that 44% now. So I got rid of some of these lineups. Right? So now I'm down to 25 lineups. I still have a lot of Najee Harris, and maybe I don't mind that. Right? And you look and you go, Demetric Felton, 16%. Maybe get rid of a lineup or two of him. Right? Whatever you want. Because these lineups were probably not bad. I mean, we went through the duplication predictor. These lineups are under 10. So that seems fine to me. Right? Maybe smart trim the Demetric Felton lineups. And I don't even know if I got rid of any. Right? You just look down, you look through here, and you go, okay. Maybe let's do the Najee Harris lineups. I may end up with less than 20. Right. I have too much Najee Harris at 76%. These lineups are fine, but I need to get down to 20 because I'm only playing 20, right? In your head. I'm gonna just not got rid of the Najee, the highest owned versus projection Najee Harris lineups. Right. And then we're down to 19. Okay, close. Right, 19 lineups, and there you go. And it'll show you the exposure. So you don't constantly have to use this tool and then bring it into something else just to see like how much of someone you have. And what I used to do for like showdowns for the past 2 weeks is that I would do the duplicates for each captain. So I'd make a build for every captain and then remove the heavily duped lineups, then bring just those captain lineups into the portfolio trimmer, trim those, and then cut and paste them over. And just do that for each individual captain. But with the new version, when it works, when it comes out, I'll be able to trim just based on that captain, that person. So I can just put them all in here. I don't have to do them one at a time. Imagine I got to do this, cut and paste 10 different times. Here's a captain. Here's another captain. Here's another captain. Here's another captain. Here's another. No, I just do all of the lineups at once. And then just go by name and go, okay, let me trim these captains and those captains and all in one document. And then I could see how much of something that I have. It's like, oh, turns out I'm getting a lot of so-and-so, which typically means if you're doing a smart trim, you're comparing ownership and projection, is that they're under-owned for their value and projection to a lineup. That doesn't mean that they're the best play. Play them all. That doesn't mean that. It just means they contribute the most to lineups in relative value. But from a risk tolerance perspective, maybe you don't want to play like 80% of some $400 guy that projects for 2 points. Right? Because he's still just median projections. The variance is ridiculous. But this will save time. I mean, the tools in and of itself save time as it is. But this will save even more time when it works. Like I said, when it works. This is what I get for testing something out. Just like, oh, James sends me something early in the morning. Says, here you go, test it out. I'm like, why not? I didn't get up until a half an hour before the show. Why not I'll just test it live on the air. Why not? We're an open book, right? We're transparent. It'll work by the time you use it. Yes, it'll work by the time you use it. And also probably make everything look the same everywhere else. Mike B says, wow, that's super helpful. This may be life-changing. Well, I don't know about life-changing, but it'll definitely make it easier, right? Mike understands. Mike uses these Excel tools. He understands how useful this is because I suggested this. Why? Why did I suggest this to James? I've been using the tools this is what I used. This course has come out 3 weeks ago. This is the tools that I use. These are the tools that I've always wanted, and it saves me all the time on my manual process. So I've been doing all these showdown lineups also and going, yeah, this would be so much easier if I could just at least see what my exposures are. Or at least like sort, because I could sort by a player, but I can't trim by a player. It's like, can you just make it so I could trim by a player? And James like, sure. Let's make it so you can trim by a player. So I trim by a player. There, done, easy. And you can do it in classic slates also. So like even tonight's baseball slate. Let's say you build 500 lineups and you're playing only 50. And you're like, I want to trim the Aaron Judge lineups, right? Just those. I want to trim just this pitcher, just that. Just like you may be fine with all 500 liners. I mean, like the 500, like okay, I could play any of these practically, but I have to choose 50. And then you start trimming based on that. You go, well, maybe I don't want as much of this, and I don't want as much of that, and I don't want as much as this. Maybe I'm going to trim by projection, trim of this. What's the highest ownership do I want? I'll cut off the top. What's the lowest projection I want? Cut off the bottom. And then you smart trim, right? Comparing ownership and projection. You can do the whole thing at once, but if you do the whole thing at once, like Mike says, you're going to end up with a lot of lineups with similar players that are under-owned for their projection, which are great if you don't mind the variance. But do you want 80% of a guy just because he projects for 0.8 more than some other guy at like 3% less ownership? And that could be the case. You may get you get a ton of that person. Yes, he's slightly better than the other guys, slightly. But from a numerical standpoint, the tool doesn't know any different. Do you want 80% of one and 0% of the other? No, it's probably a little bit closer to that. So if you have the ability, you're just like, okay, let me trim by those specific players. That would be so much easier than having to, pick and choose and look on the screen and go, what's that? What's that lineup? What's this lineup? Get rid of that lineup and go and sort, right? Because you could sort by the lineups. And go, which lineups do I want to keep? And then look at that. Like, no, can I key in on a player and just trim those lineups? Yes, now you can. Well, soon you can. Soon you can. Matt Meir says, will the captains be identified separately from their flex versions in the draft down? There should be, right? I noticed that also. Like I said, this is literally the document that James sent me in the morning. And with the response of, can you test this? Right? So that's what I'm testing. We're testing it in the morning. Right, but that would be one of the things. It's like, well, I want a smart trim by the captain. Right? Don't give me the name. Give me the output, the export. Right? So it should be David Bell, but I should be able to see Deontay Johnson captain, Deontay Johnson flex. Right? Obviously, also increase the font size so it equals all the other ones. Right? We saw that the projection threshold doesn't work, and the smart trim doesn't even work correctly. Is to figure that out. But yes, Matt, it should be different. Obviously, on a non-showdown slate, right? On a non-showdown, yeah, we have set the showdown. On a non-showdown slate, then you're not going to have a cat. Then you don't have to worry about that type of stuff. Grant Brown, if it's not proprietary, could you share how salary is used in the duplication tool? You'd have to ask James. That's James's. It's typically from a concept point of view. If you were to go and check every showdown slate, like it's a hockey stick. Typically, duplication based on salary is a hockey stick. I don't know the formula that James uses for that, but like it's exponential. So 50,000 lineups that spend all 50,000 exactly have a X amount of chance of being duplicated, regardless of the ownership product. Like just regardless of the ownership product. 49.9, it goes down dramatically. 49.8, it goes down even more dramatically. Right? Even though there's still plenty. But like it gets to a point where then it doesn't go down as dramatically. 49.4, 49.3, 49.2, 49.1. And then once it starts getting to like 40, the 48s, then it starts going down, 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 down. So a lineup that's like 48.4 like is X times less likely to be duplicated than a lineup that's 49.7. In general, on average. So it takes, I believe that's what it takes into account when it comes to that. So are there some 50,000 lineups that are unique? Yeah, and it'll show that in the tool. Typically, if it says 0, that lineup at best is going to be at worst is going to be an under 5. If it spends 50,000 and says 0, like you're playing 1% owned guys. You're playing. It's a very weird lineup, but they do exist. Like I said, last Thursday, I played Justin Watson. I mean, one of my better lineups had Justin Watson, and it's been like 40, left like 100 on the table. That's it. The lineup was duplicated 3 times. It was me and 2 other people. That's it. Right? And there are some lineups that are 48.9, leaves an 1,100 on the table, and they're duplicated 74 times. Because everyone in the lineup is 30% owned, right? Even though it leaves 1,100 on the table, just the combination of players is like, okay, I could see getting to that lineup. But yes, when this works, when the new portfolio trimmer comes out, which I would expect it to be maybe Monday, I don't know. Like I said, I'm literally testing it right live on this show. And obviously it doesn't work correctly. So James is going to have to fix it. The old one still works. The old one, everything works. It's just that you're not going to get the exposures and you're not going to be able to key in on a player. Everything else is fine. Just saves the time now of having to bring the lineups from the portfolio trimmer into another tool just to see this information. So we'll show it to you right here. And having to key in on specific players. You know, a lot of times, even like when I was doing my baseball lineups for pitchers, I would trim like 1,000 lineups in here and then like, oh, I barely have any of this pitcher that I still kind of want. Right. So I would have a separate document and I would cut and paste just those pitchers and just trim those and just the lineups with that pitcher and trim those. Now, that's still much quicker than my previous process, right? Of trying to do that manually in lineup HQ. But still, I want to get even quicker. So it's like, why am I cutting and pasting these things 5 times? When I could just cut and paste once and then just set something to key player that and then just deal with those lineups. So that's why we're adding it. Any other questions? Right? It's toss up Thursday. It's Thummy Thumb Thursday. It's time to give you the thummy thumbs. But based on what we've smart trimmed already, it looks like Najee Harris. Is Najee Harris the play? Is he the play today? Someone's got to be the play. This is going to be a Chubb, Hunt. It's going to be running backs, and I guess the contrarian way is to play this game like it's going to be a shootout. Quarterback captain. I mean, talk about the slate that's going to have the least ownership at quarterback captain in comparison to other showdown slates. Who wants to play Trubisky or Jacoby Brissett in the captain spot? Maybe I will. There'll be a lot more defensive ownership, a lot more kicker ownership. So maybe you play it like it's a shootout. Maybe you do. Maybe that's the way to go. Okay, let me go back to the lineup HQ. There you go. But those tools, the Excel tools, as part of theoryofdfs.com, they work for any sport. I mean, I use that for MMA, my baseball lineups, football lineups, NFL. I mean, I built all my lineups NFL wise this past Sunday using the tools, right? Using lineup HQ, right? With aggregated projections from RotoGrinders, projections from the Blitz, projections from other places that you could aggregate here in lineup HQ, right? Owners, you could do anything you want here. Build a whole ton of lineups, right? Like I played 18 lineups on Sunday. I must have built, I don't know, 10,000 lineups in total. Different combinations, different stack things, max of one of this, max of two of that, max of three of this, and just keep on just churning out lineups, going like, okay, what are my candidates? Which ones are better than others? Well, how do I figure that out? Well, I throw them all into my Excel tools, the theory of DFS Excel tools, and go, okay, how do I trim this down? Right? What comes up more than others? And go, okay, yeah, I'm getting a lot more of a, based on this, I'm getting a lot more Ashton Doolin, getting a lot more Amon-Ra St. Brown. Right? I was getting a lot of Christian Kirk. A lot of combinations of Amon-Ra Brown and Curtis Samuel. But do I want all 18 lineups to look like that? No. No, I don't mind. I'll take two of those, and I'll take two of these, and I'll take one of those, and here's a Tua stack. I'll take one of those. I'll take one Lamar lineup. Okay, there. How do I weed out the ones and be like, okay, do I need to play Richie James Jr.? Probably not. Okay, get rid of those lineups. Should I be playing at 19% Greg Dortch when I can play Ashton Doolin for half the ownership and a projection difference of a half a point? No, get rid of Dortch. Get rid of that. I'm just doing that all in Excel. You could do that manually in lineup HQ, but you have to do it. You have to X this out, and you have to X. You got to sort by stuff. You got to do. It'll take you 10 times as long, right? Which is still fine. I used to do it that way. Then it would take 30 to 40 minutes, 45 minutes to get my lineups down to 50 lineups that I wanted to play in a showdown, whatever. Now, like, dude, but before this new edition, I got my showdown process down to like 15 minutes. 12, I think 12 minutes. Once we had these additions, this exposure and the key smart trim by key player, I could probably get it down to 6 or 7 minutes and done, right? 50 lineups or so. If you're playing even less, it's probably even be quicker. You use the projections we provide at RotoGrinders. The ownership we provide at RotoGrinders. The lineup builder we provide at RotoGrinders. Click on that link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. Then once you're down to a whole bunch of candidate lineups, then you bring them into Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports, the Excel tools from James McCool. You also get the 10-chapter audio course. You got to understand what you're doing. You're not going to just bring them in the tools and press a button and go, there's the ATM machine. You can still have horrible lineups if you don't build, just build lineups that make absolutely no sense. And then I'm going to bring them in the tools and press a button and like, those are the lineups. Like they can be flawed from the beginning. Remember, garbage in, garbage out for anything. If you're putting in bad projections, I'm going to change my projections. I'm going to change the ownership. Oh, Nick Chubb, I'm going to make 1% owned. I'm going to say Jacoby Brissett is going to score 70 points today. Yeah, obviously, you're going to get a lot of Brissett. You're going to get a lot of Chubb if you do that, right? If you just dramatically change the numbers and they're off. Yeah, of course. Garbage in, garbage out. Mike B says the best part of DFS is actually making the lineups. No, the best part of DFS is winning money. That is the best part of DFS. Making the lineups in and of itself, if I could remove that and just make the money, I'm fine with that. Perfectly fine. I'm perfectly fine. How about Mike? Mike, we'll split the work. Mike, if you think the best part of DFS is making the lineups, I will let you make the lineups. If we have a deal, you make all the lineups. You have all the fun you want. and I will take all the money. If you want to do that, that's fine with me, right? Feel free. Me, the fun part is actually winning and making money, and making enough money that this is all I have to do, and I don't have to sit at a desk and do work that I don't want to do. That's it. That's the fun part of DFS. The fact you could do it with just your brain, right? Your own intellect, moving numbers around. While other people think it's about, is Miles Boykin going to catch a touchdown today? I don't know. I probably have him in a lineup, and if he does, great. And everyone will be tilting over some 2% own something or other, and I'll be like, well, how else am I going to build non-duplicated lineups? Well, the only way to Justin Watts. How did you know Justin Watson? I didn't know. I needed a 1% owned guy that had any projection, because I'm looking at not split $1 million 8 million ways, and here's $8. Where you go? It's totally strategic. Okay, so we got Showdown tonight. There'll be a Showdown show also tonight. There's tons of stuff. I mean, Thursdays and Fridays on this channel is nutso, right? We got live locks on the Scores and Odds channel. You got the Blitz prop stuff coming in later today with Cardi and Keith. You got obviously MLB Grinders Live. I'll be on later today, 5:00 Eastern, for the MLB slate tonight. And then there's Crunch Time after that. Then there's the NFL Showdown show after that. Then tomorrow, it seems like the shows all the time. Tournament Day. I'm doing a premium show, right? So me and Tuttle do the premium game theory show. That's only for RotoGrinders members, subscribers. So click on that link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. There's other free shows going on. Obviously, I'm always in the RotoGrinders Discord. That's for premium members also. The Blenders Game Theory channel. We had a coaching session 2 days ago. I do that like 2 or 3 times a month on Zoom, and I answer anything there. I mean, anything about game theory, anything about strategy. I have no problem explaining stuff, discussing stuff, talking stuff out in my Discord channel. So you could subscribe and join that. And all the tools that I showed you, like the Excel stuff, that's part of the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports, right? The original course, the Fundamentals Masterclass, is 15 hours long. I would suggest you listen to that first, right? Especially if you're not as familiar with the DFS concepts, the mathematical concepts of DFS. Then after that, then you get the 4 Advanced Players course, 6 hours long, right? It assumes you know the first 15 hours of information. Then we get a little bit more detailed, a lot more condensed for advanced players. And then you also get the tools that are specifically, they're focused on DraftKings, but most of them do work for FanDuel. Their formatting on FanDuel is always weird, right? The number conventions, and they change stuff around. So if you do this for FanDuel, I mean, I don't. But this is geared more towards DraftKings. Obviously, contest review, you can't do that for FanDuel because they don't give you the CSVs. But like the portfolio correlation matrix should work for FanDuel, right? The lineup simulator should work for FanDuel. Right? Some of the stuff where the formatting doesn't matter as much. But the output formatting on some of the stuff for FanDuel is inconsistent. So that's why we say it's custom DraftKings tools. So we can't guarantee FanDuel usefulness. Just from a formatting perspective. It has nothing, the tools do what they do. They just take numbers and move them around, right? They sort by this and do by that. Just a matter of like, does the name match the number, and like that type of stuff. The projections match the name guy in that spot and that thing, because FanDuel is weird. DraftKings isn't so much. So you can pick this up, theoryofdfs.com, and I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we don't got MMA, so probably we'll talk NFL. It's always NFL. Soon there'll be NBA, right? We got about 3.5 weeks till the NBA season starts, so we'll be dealing with that. MLB's only got a week and a half left or so, something like that. People are talking about, is that Aaron Judge going to break the record? And I'm like, I highly doubt he's going to break the record. Right, the record's 73. Right, the record is 73. Barry Bonds' record. So what does it matter if he hit 62 home runs? Right? Oh, he broke the Yankees record? Yeah, that's the Yankees record. right? Or the American League record, right? Right, because Sosa, Bond, yeah, they're all National League. So okay, maybe the American League record, but not the record. The record's 73. No matter what, some baseball writers, I think we need to get rid of a lot of the baseball writers. Said there's absolutely and unequivocally no reason why Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, and Mark McGwire are not in the Hall of Fame. There's absolutely no reason. Did they hit those home runs? Yes. So why shouldn't they be in the Hall of Fame? Right. We want to put asterisks behind. Oh well, they did. You could say that about any time, right? What? Oh, the players today also play like what? They play 9 more games, right? Roger Maris only played 152 games. Babe Ruth only played 152 games. Oh, got to throw out everything now. Like obviously times are different, right? The ERAs of pitchers in 1920 much different than they are now. Right, because it's not a dead ball era, and it's no home runs, and the fences weren't 500 feet to center field, the 480 in the Polo Grounds or something. Obviously, they're different. But did they actually do the things that they did during their time period? Sure, yeah. Then give them. There you go. It's 73 home runs while everyone was on steroids. Okay, so be it. That's the record. Go beat it. Right. 311 win, right? That doesn't 511 wins by Cy Young. They'll never. I mean, that you'll never come close to that because pitchers just don't pitch that way. You're not going to have a pitcher that pitches every other day for 100 pitches because obviously Cy Young wasn't that great of a pitcher. If you in this day and age, because who the hell could pitch like the pitchers pitch today, 100 pitches every other day and start 80 games in a season. Like that does that. So are we going to just throw his record? That's not the real record anymore. Right? That's the same thing you're doing for the steroid stuff. Right? You're right. It's a different era. It doesn't mean it never happened. Right? They happened. So those are the records. Okay. So, yep, I'll see you tomorrow. Answering your DFS strategy questions. Like I always do. Where you hit the thumbs up button on your way out the door. On the DFS pregame show. On RotoGrinders.com.